Welcome back to Cheddar Business. Earlier this week, Bitcoin surging past the $10,000 mark for the first time this year. This is governments and federal banks across the globe looking at the risks and the rewards of digital currency. And joining us now is Joe DiPasquale. He's the CEO of crypto investing firm BitBull Capital. Joe, it's great to have you with us. How would the Fed presumably use Bitcoin as a baseline for a government-run digital currency? And is that something that you expect?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Kristen. Hi, Tim. So this craze with government-backed digital currencies all started when Facebook announced its plans to launch Libra last June. After that, we saw Xi Jinping, president of China, in October announce the plan for a digital yuan. And it's generally expected that the US government will also go down that path and also launch a digital currency.
So what does that digital currency look like, and how does the U.S. do it, Joe?
Yeah, well, so zooming out to what a digital currency is, it will allow a digital ledger to be used for any sort of remittance, for example, and for instead of using, let's say, Swift to send money, you can do that immediately and quickly. The reason it's so important is that there's this race to be kind of the standard global currency, and we're seeing China's dominance in many things, including supply chain and other things. And so the U.S. wants to be there, and essentially it would be a couple-year plan where the U.S. launches a digital backing to the U.S. dollar, something that exactly mirrors it, but with the blockchain and
Joe,
at the backing.
What's the time frame on this? Because the Fed has been reticent to really give any credibility to Bitcoin.
Yes. Well, so the reason that the Fed has, in the congressional hearings this week, the director of the Fed, Jerome Powell, said that he was kind of doing it carefully. And the reason is in this milieu of Facebook and China having many privacy violations, the Fed and the U.S. government want to be seen, it's viewed as the secure one, the one where your information is not being used inappropriately. And so that's why they're taking their time. No one knows what the actual timeline is, but it's probably years.
Do you think this would risk the way that the U.S. currency is viewed around the world and the way that other governments have trusted and other citizens of other countries have trusted U.S. currency if the U.S. were to say, hey, we are actually exploring this other type of digital currency?
Yeah, well, it will be the same as the US dollar effectively, only with the speed of the blockchain. And so quite the opposite. I think that it will help bolster the US dollar as the standard world currency and just provide more convenience and immediacy with all of the uses of payments.
In May, Bitcoin is going to actually cut production of the cryptocurrency by 50%. Explain the decision behind that.
Sure. Well, for that, let's understand Bitcoin and why it's special and why there's been so much interest in it over its short 11-year history. So Bitcoin, unlike the dollar, is an asset that there cannot be more printed of. When there's 21 million, that's it. So also, unlike the dollar, the value of Bitcoin has gone up over time. So the reason that it's important that the reward for mining more Bitcoin, getting to that 21 million that will ever be produced, is that it reduces the supply, and of course, supply and demand. You're seeing a huge run up in price with Bitcoin now, over 40% this year, and a lot of it is credited to what you're talking about, which is called the halvening.
Right, 40% this year, 190% over the last year. What do you make of this run-up?
So there's a lot of reasons, again, going to the premise of Bitcoin as a non-nation state-owned cryptocurrency, digital currency. We've seen a lot of global unrest this year, so some of it is credit towards that, towards drone strikes, towards coronavirus, and many other related things. But then we've also, of course, seen that a lot of the active investors, obviously I run a hedge fund, there's many active investors who know that this reduction in supply of Bitcoin is coming up. And so people have been stocking up on the asset.
How do you look at other cryptocurrencies in the space, aside from Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and the others, Joe?
Well, so the great thing about crypto assets is that there's over 3,000 of them. And the exciting thing about this year is that last year was all about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin went up 92% in 2019. But if you look this year at alternative assets like Ethereum, yes, Bitcoin's up 40% in the last 45 days, but Ethereum's up over 100%. They all have different uses. If you talk to someone in crypto, you'll hear about smart contract use of Ethereum, payments use of Ripple, and other uses for other crypto assets. But it's exciting that these alternative cryptocurrencies are back.
It's so funny you say that they're back, as if they did go somewhere. Certainly with a decline in value, and certainly not being the zeitgeist that they were close to 3 years ago, or about 2.5 years ago, Joe. What is the future of the other cryptocurrencies though? Because Bitcoin continues to get the bulk of the mind share.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that in 2017, when Bitcoin hit 20K in December of 2017, there were the ability to short was essentially then created. And past CFTC chairman John Carlos spoke about how that was actually the intention to burst the bubble. So 2018 was a very down year. Bitcoin within crypto is seen as kind of the safe haven asset within crypto. So people fled, especially the alternative currencies, into Bitcoin. And now that there are increased uses for these alternative currencies, they're coming back into play, and people are using the increased transactions as essentially proof that there's value within these assets.
All right, Joe DiPasquale is the CEO of BitBull Capital. Thank you.